Week 24 of 50. Old man goes to Vegas. Everyone who has signed up for $4.22 a month or more at patreon.com/DGAF poker player got a lead up to this episode yesterday. It dropped on the Patreon app and wherever they've pasted their personal RSS feeds, including Spotify now. Lead-ups are private drops of sessions in which I share everything that goes on in my life when I'm not at the poker table. This lead-up for this week actually included some poker, a session I played in Vegas 2 nights before the World Series of Poker, Seniors High Roller. Lead-ups are typically much more intimate than the public drops of sessions. And according to hundreds of patrons, many of whom have been listening to this podcast since 2018, they are the best mental escapes available in audio form. Perfect for commutes, workouts, walks, or just trying to fall asleep after a busy day. If you too want the intimate stuff, all you got to do is sign up. But wait, there's more. For that $4.22 a month, less than one big blind for most of you, you also get access to all 8 seasons of sessions. And at that point, you will never be left with nothing to listen to again. You don't have to listen to every drop of sessions to get caught up in the story. You can simply pick and choose the titles that look interesting to you, and that should do the trick. But wait, there's even more. Included in that $4.22 a month, less than 1 gallon of gas in California, you also get membership to Patron Discord. That's the platform where sessions listeners from all over the world go to have discussions and share their stories. They also play poker together, bet sports together with no vig, and some buy pieces of me when I play poker with no markup, which used to be a ridiculously lucrative perk, but ever since the end of 2023 has been, what the fuck? Does this guy ever win? Why am I paying for this? Anyways, you can check out all the details of all the perks that come with each subscription tier at patreon.com/DGAF poker player. One quick note. I keep saying $4.22 a month or more. But I see some stuff that makes me think they're charging more than that. Patreon is. When I set up my Patreon account, I beat a deadline to get some sort of deal where the prices were supposed to be locked in, and the 22 cents was the juice. That's what Patreon was getting for each person. I would get $4, they'd get 22 cents. And they've just said, oh, we've updated our terms and policies, whatever it is, and they might be charging you more. I don't know. If they are, I'm sorry. It's not going to me. I didn't raise prices. I've never raised prices. Anyways, last the patrons heard, I was in Vegas, and I was heading from my friend's house out in Spring Valley to the Paris Casino for the 2025 World Series of Poker Senior High Roller, a 5K one rebuy tournament. You got to be 50 years old or older. And it was Thursday, June 12th. And at this point in time, I'm 51. And this seemed like a good opportunity, a chance to bink. As mentioned, people have pieces of me. I'm staked. And we set this up when I was playing regularly on Hustler Casino Live. It made a lot of sense. And then things happened where I had to leave Hustler Casino Live. I'm now back, but I'm not playing on there. And so I need to find other ways to play big and make it worthwhile to the investors. And I qualified to play seniors events last year, but I wasn't able to come to terms with the fact that I'm a senior. I'm a fucking old man. And I guess that's okay. It's okay to be an old man. It's better than the alternative, isn't it? Of not becoming an old man. Anyways, I had a very rough session the night we arrived, Tuesday night. And Wednesday was kind of a recovery day. And I was feeling very down and exhausted, unable to sleep. So I went in Thursday tired and down, but also ready to grind. I had brought a backpack. I was wearing a hat, no sunglasses. I had AirPods, a bunch of water. Yeah, full grinder mode. I just tournaments, I feel like, I don't know. I always play them sober. There's just too much going on, and you got to be so aware of everyone's stack size, and you just got to be so aware in a tournament. We're in a cash game. There's usually just a couple denominations of chips. You know how many big blinds it is just by looking across the table, give or take. Well, that's not true where the blinds are always going up in a tournament. You have to be thinking all the time. And so I've mentioned in this podcast a bunch that you won't believe it, but I used to be a grinder. I used to go to Ocean's 11 every day, and I would wear a Dodgers hat, no sunglasses, and I would listen to music, and I would snipe. And I didn't get it. I didn't get you have to be good for the game if you want to stay in the game. And it was a very good 10-10 no-limit game, 2007, 2008. And the player pool kind of said I had to go to a bigger pond. And that's when I moved to Vegas and quickly learned a better way to do it, to have fun at the table, to play my B- game instead of my A+ game. And people would be happy to play with me, and I could win more money in the long run. And I've won a lot of money that way. But in a tournament, you are not incentivized at all to be quote-unquote good for the game. And no one else is. Everyone's there to compete. Whereas in a cash game, a big cash game, if you treat it like a sport, you're not going to get another invite. You're not going to get action. Well, here, people can't leave. So I'm just, turning back the clock to 2007 when I was a grinder. And I got a Dodgers hat. Not the same one, new one, but you get the point. So I go to my seat. I want to be there for hand number 1. I know in these tournaments, the only tournaments I typically play are the main event each year. And I know the early levels, people say they're not important. Oh, you can't win the tournament on day 1. Well, there's some truth to that. Like, it doesn't really matter. The blinds are going to go up, and whatever your stack is doesn't matter a ton. But that's where all the dead money is, in the early levels. So I want to get in there and play like a fucking maniac while looking like a grinder. And we're going to start off you get 50,000 in chips, and we're starting off at 100, 200 with a $200 big blind ante. So that's 250 big blinds. And I'm just going to tell you about my table real quick. My first table. The 1 seat is Zen Master. Just this guy with long hair and wearing some kind of hippie shirt, getting a massage, and totally at peace with everything. Seat 2 is the ringer. Why? Because he's good at poker? No. Because every so often his phone would go off, and it was so fucking loud, it would rattle my brain. He's the ringer. Seat 3 is the joker. I just made a lot of jokes, and, there's a lot of nervous energy at the table, and people were laughing, and he's the joker. I'm in the 4 seat. My name's Dragon Man. That's my real poker name. 5 seat is the serious Euro. So this guy's going to be the worst guy to have on your direct left. You can tell right away that he's played a lot of tournaments, and he's no joke. He's not dead money whatsoever. Seat 6 is How Much. And why is this guy called How Much? This guy's older than the rest of the table, and he can't hear, so he says how much every time. Nice guy. Says, how much? How much? Puts his hand up to his ear. How much? Seat 7 is El Chapo. I think you know him. This guy just looked exactly like El Chapo. And seat 8 is the serial killer. He very, very, very much gave off the vibe of someone who has bodies buried in his backyard. Okay, there's your lineup, 8-handed. And people show up late. Not me, not the grinder. I'm there for the first hand. And it's 5-handed. There's the small blind, the big blind, the ante, 100, 200 with 200 ante. Both of those players are not at the table yet. So this is a pretty clear steal spot. There's only 3 of us at the table. It's me, How Much, and the serial killer. So I open first to act with King 4 offsuit. I just min raise. Hopefully these guys fold and I just take the blinds because they're not even there. Well, both players call. Okay. It comes ace, king, X. I check, they check. Turns an X. I bet small. I got second pair. And how much calls? The river's an X. I check. He checks. He has ace, 9 offsuit. He wins the first pot. Okay, whatever. This is incredibly standard. Me min raising the first hand with both blinds not even in their seats. And I flop showdown value. And I check it, and then I bet it small, and then I check it again, and I lose. And then I defend an open with 7-3 suited. Why? We're deep stacked. That's why. I flop nothing. I fold. Okay. Then the ringer's at the table now, and I 3-bet with ace-queen offsuit, and he calls. He opened, and I 3-bet ace-queen offsuit. He calls. It comes 4-4-7 with a flush draw. He checks. I bet. He calls. The turn's a brick, and he checks, and I pot control here. And the river is a brick. There was a flush draw available on the flop, and so it came 4-4-7, and then like deuce 9. And he bets small in the river, and I just call, all the draws missed there, and he had the Robbie. He had the jack 4. He was suited. So he opened jack 4 suited, called the 3-bet, flop trips, and I lose a chunk in this one. And this is how poker has been going for me. I know I play a very high variance style, a very laggy style, but there's logic behind everything I do, typically, and I like how I've played all these hands, and I've lost all of them. And then the ringer, opens again, and I've seen him now. He's opening jack 4 suited. So I 3-bet with 8s. He calls. It comes jack X X. He checks. I bet. He calls. The turn is an X. We check. The river is an ace. He checks. I check. He has king jack. Okay. So he called. He opened with king jack offsuit. Called the 3-bet, and flop top pair. And there's only one overcard to my 8s. And this is just how it's been going for me in cash. Obviously not in tournaments. I haven't been playing tournaments. And this is, I think, an interesting hand that might sound like spew, but, try to have an open mind. The big blind with king deuce offsuit, and it's a limp pot. And it comes queen 7-5. I have king 2. We all check. Turns a 4, and the ringer leads. It's an obvious 6 to me. He is obviously open-ended on this card. So at best, he has a pair and an open-ender. And I raise for value. What the fuck does that mean? Why are you raising for value with king deuce offsuit on queen 7-5-4? Because I know one of his cards is a 6, and I know he doesn't have a straight yet. So I just need the board to break out. I need the river to not make him a straight, and then I'm going to bomb, and then I'm going to take it down. And that's what that raise on the turn was. It's for value, not then, but for later. So he calls my raise, and the river is an 8, completing the straight, and now he leads. I fold. He shows ace 6 offsuit. I had this hand read perfectly, and in my opinion, because we're deep stack at this point, I played it perfectly. I raised small on the turn, and he's a huge favorite to not make a straight with one card to come. And then I'm going to win the pot. Maybe if it's an ace, he calls, but okay. So he has, let's say, 11 outs. That's still a huge dog. And, he just hit. And then they folded me on the button, and I'm going to open almost anything, but I look down at 8-3 offsuit. So I just fold. Then I look down at 8 deuce offsuit. I look down at 10-6 offsuit. I'm just folding. I have 41,100 stack. It's still over 200 bigs, but I'm kind of spazzing. Not with my play. I always play spazzy. I'm very, very, very content with my approach, especially in a tournament, especially when I look like a grinder. But I'm spazzing because this is how I've been running in cash, where just everything goes wrong. And then I look down at 10-3 offsuit, have to fold. And then I wrote in my notes, I've had one pot pushed to me thus far. I don't know, we're 40 minutes in. And it was a mistake by a new dealer. I didn't win the pot. They pushed it to me, and then I had to push it over to the person who actually won. Okay. Next hand I play is ace queen suited. I 3-bet and they all fold. My first pot of the tournament. And then I look down at 7-4 offsuit, fold. Then I look down at the iron, queen deuce, and it's suited. So I 3-bet, and I 3-bet large to get it through, and it works. Okay. And so when I'm sober, I'm picking up on everything. I'm picking up on too much. It's an incredibly draining. It can be painful. I'm so hypersensitive. I try and numb myself, usually when I'm in public. At home, I don't care. But here, I'm going to embrace it. And so if I think you're weak and I don't think anyone behind me is, particularly strong, they've already looked at their cards, I will 3-bet the queen deuce suited big and get it through. And then I had what I hope is an interesting hand. I raised to 500. So the blinds must have gone up at this point. I was min-raising pretty much the whole tournament. Well, not the whole tournament. I didn't make it through the whole tournament. Spoiler. But, for the time I was in the tournament. I raised with ace-3 of clubs to 500. So the big blind must be 250 here. And ringer calls out of position. And the flop comes jack 10-7 with 2 clubs. Nut flush draw. He checks. I bet 600. I'm probably going to take my free card, just, play very ABC in this spot. Depends on what the turn card is. He's very sticky. He's not someone to push around. The turn is a 9, offsuit 9. So it's jack 10-7, 2 clubs. I have ace-3 of clubs. And, I raised. He called pre-flop. I bet 600 on the flop. He called. The turn's a 9. It's a bad card for me. He checks. I check. The river is an offsuit king. And he looks at his chips, looks at me, and checks. What does that tell you? It tells you he doesn't like this card. Well, of course not, because a queen, any queen, makes a straight. So I bet 1,500, and he thinks for a bit and folds. And he says, I know you had a queen. And I confirm with him, yeah, I did. I actually had ace-queen. I lied. It's fair. We're at the poker table. It's not malicious. And I look like a grinder. I have a fucking hat on. I got a backpack. And when I don't have sunglasses on. And when I'm looking like this, if you look at me, you don't think I could just be bluffing every single time where I think it'll work. But I am. When I'm wearing sunglasses and have a drink in front of me, I think it's probably easier to believe I'm bluffing every time I think it'll work. But anyways, moving on. I call a raise with pocket 5s against Zen Master. And the flop comes 10-5-4. Set watch. I flop a set. I never flop sets. Of course, in a tournament, I'm going to flop sets. Flop a set, and Zen Master bets. 10-5-4, rainbow. Do I want to raise here? In general, yeah, in this tournament, if I think he has anything. But I think Zen Master has nothing. So I just call. And this is a very, you have to really rely on your reads to not, you don't need to raise 10-5-4 rainbow when you flop a set against good players. It's just too strong. But against, in this seniors high roller, if this guy's got an overpair or 10 or even something like 8s, you want to be building the pot now because they're not folding. But I used the word knew with quotation marks. I knew he had nothing, so I just called. And the turn was an ace, and he bet forcefully. What does that mean? It means he doesn't have shit. So I feign weakness and just call. If I don't have a read, I'm raising the flop or the turn. But I have a read, he's got nothing. The river is the king of diamonds, so backdoor diamonds come in. 10-5-4 rainbow, ace of diamonds, king of diamonds. And he bets again. And I'm in position, and I thought he was snowing throughout, meaning he didn't have anything. That's why I just called the flop and called the turn. Well, now I got to min-raise the river just in case my read was wrong, and he snap folded. So he had nothing. So it's one of those hands where if you believe in your reads and you have a strong one, you go with it. And I think I played it. I got the maximum because of that. Whereas if I just raised the flop, he's gone. Raised the turn, he's gone. And instead, he barreled off. And I got pocket threes. I didn't flop a set in this one. And then I got in a little ante dispute with the serial killer. I didn't think he put the ante in because they give you not many chips. So you're always making change for people. And I didn't think his ante was in there. I just asked if it was, and he snapped. And I wondered if he added me to his list of victims, future victims. Hope not. Anyways, I raised 6-3 suited. I get 3-bet. That's a fold. I have ace-6 offsuit. I'm the big blind. They limp. I decide to not squeeze. I flop top pair. Go ahead and bet it. It's ace-10-4 with a flush draw. Go ahead and bet the top pair. No one raised pre-flop. People raise with aces. My ace is good. And Zen Master calls. Turn is an ace. I got trips. Fuck it. I'm going to bet again. You know, but not big. I want him to stay in there with a draw. He calls. And now the river is a brick. And I remember my buddy Tom Middleton said, just play a very linear game. I don't know what the fuck that means, Tom. I didn't ask you what that means. Maybe I'm supposed to know what that means. Play a very linear style. Well, I just thought of it in this moment. I thought with 2 aces out there, and this guy already tried to bluff me once, he's not going to bluff if he missed a draw. And I don't even know that he had a missed draw. I never knew what he had in this one. So I'm just going to bet my trips once more on the river when all the draws bricked and hope that he called on the flop with like middle pair and then kept calling. And he called. My hand was good. Maybe that was linear. So against good players, I would never bet. Me betting into the field on ace 10x and then betting again when the ace comes is strong. And betting a third time, it's just not getting paid off. Well, it did here. I don't know what the fuck he had. He's just a Zen Master. Okay, now we go to level 2. So I guess we weren't in level 1. I just opened to 500 when it was... Wait, what? Maybe that's the end of level 2. I don't know. Anyways, no. Level 2 is 200, 300 with a $300 ante. Okay. So I have 51.5 thousand to start level 2. By being there for the first hour, I made 1,500. And I got down 10 right away. Anyways, I have 1,500 more than someone just buying in right now. It's not too significant, but it's something. And I am locked in. And I call 900 with King Jack suited, the Joker open, and El Chapo calls from the blinds. And it comes Jack Deuce 3 with a flush draw, 2 clubs. They check to me. I bet half pot. And El Chapo folded, and the Joker check called. He was a preflop raiser. Jack Deuce 3. I don't know what the fuck he has. I don't know why he's not continuation betting. He's check calling. I don't know. Turns an offsuit 7. He checks again. I bet half again. I think my top pair is good. He calls again. Maybe he has a hand like 10s and he just didn't c-bet for some reason. I don't know. And the river is a 9. He checks again. I bet half again. Maybe in a tournament you could just check down your top pair here. He just folded. I don't know what the fuck he had. And that's a good thing. I talked in the lead up. I was playing against some pros where you know what they have, and it's kind of more mentally satisfying to play against good players because you know what they have and you can execute against that or, hope to execute against that. But sometimes in these tournaments, seniors event or main event on day 1, you have no idea what the fuck they're doing because it doesn't make any sense. I don't know what this guy had at all. And, anything that can check call should have probably continuation bet. Anyways, I was happy to win that pot. And then I got pocket 3s again. Did not. I raised and got a call, and I c-bet and folded the turn. And then someone opened to 700, and I called on the button with deuces, and then the serious Euro squeezed huge. He knows what he's doing, and I just folded. Sorry, I was not in the button. I was in the small blind. He was in the big blind, and then he got moved. So sometimes they just find who's going to be the big blind next, like maybe an orbit later, and they move him. And I was thinking, thank God, like the one kind of tough player on my table just got moved. And so the serious Euro is gone, and the reluctant folder is in the 5 seat on my direct left. It's a guy who folded almost every hand, but always thought about it and made it look like he didn't want to. He's the reluctant folder. Nice guy, had kind of a cool hat. Yeah. So Zen Master, unfortunately, went the way of the felt as well. He did tell the masseuse, I'm going to register again, so they'll send me to a new table, and when you just follow me. He was just very chill. And so Zen Master is not in the 1 anymore. It's HGH, man. What's this? This is someone who's over 50 years old, but you can tell they're on HGH. They just kind of look like teenagers in a way. Their bodies do, like, and that's because they're injecting that shit. Good for them. They want to look younger. They want to be strong. They want their dicks to be hard. I get it. So HGH, man, is in for Zen Master in the 1. And he opens to 700. The Joker calls. And this guy's new to the table. He hasn't seen my spew. And I look down at 7-4 clubs, and I make it 2,700. I just want to win now. Well, they both call. Everyone else folds, but they both call. Oh, well, I'm in position with 7-4 suited. The flop comes down 9-8 deuce with 1 club. They check. I bet 3,100. Ambitious. 7-4 and 9-8 deuce. There is a club out there. I like that. There's 9-8. I got a 7. HGH man calls, and the Joker folds. The turn is a 6. So now I'm open-ended. He checks. I'm not going to bet again here. I'm going to take my free card now that I'm open-ended. And I'm in position. It's fine. The river is a jack. And so I should mention that the turn was the 6 of spades, putting 2 spades out there, and the river is the jack of spades. And he checks this card to me. And I did pick up a draw on the turn, which is why I checked. It wasn't a flush draw. It was a straight draw. But anyways, after he checks, I take my time and overbet the river with 7 high. And he goes in the tank for a bit and folds, which I thought he would do. Keep in mind, I'm wearing a fucking hat. I don't have sunglasses on. I got a backpack on the back of my chair. I'm a fucking grinder in his eyes. Well, I had 7 high. Got it through. Then I raised with ace-10 suited, got a couple calls, flopped nothing, just checked. Turns an ace. I bet small, they folded. I think that's linear. Is that linear, Tom? What the fuck does linear mean? Playing a straight line. I don't know. I don't know what that means. You bet it when you got it, don't when you don't? Maybe. Well, I did in this hand, but not in the previous one. Anyways, I get ace-jack of spades. I open, and I get 4 callers. Okay, the table's full now. Flop comes down queen, jack, 10 with a spade. All right, I have middle pair and a gut shot, straight draw. We all check. I'm not betting against 4 opponents. The turn is a small spade. Okay, I have second pair, gutter ball, and the nut flush draw, and the ringer bets. I'm not trying to bluff him here. It just wouldn't be wise, and I don't need to. I got second pair, and I have so much equity. I have so many outs in case I'm behind, and I just called. The river's a 10. He checks. I check back, and he has queen 9 offsuit. So an opportunity that, didn't pan out. If I can make runner flush, and by the grace of God, he makes a straight, I get all his chips, all of them. If I can just, improve, I win the pot and probably get paid. But anyways, all you do in these tournaments is put yourself in spots in the early levels to win stacks. And I'm doing that. And I have ace-9 suited in a multi-way bloater. And the reluctant folder was the one who raised pre-flop. And it comes ace 9-6, rainbow. Holy shit. Okay, well, the reluctant folder bets and the joker calls. I don't love raising when there's no flush draw available for value, but you got it once someone else calls. You can't give a free card because you can't. So I raise and they both call. Okay. And the turn is a 7. I was a bit concerned about 8-7. Obviously, that just made. I thought that's what maybe the joker had was 8-7, because how else is he just calling and calling? And I was hoping that the other guy had a big ace. I bombed the turn with ace 9 and ace 9-6-7, and the reluctant folder reluctantly folded. And the joker called quickly. Okay, he has what I think he has. He's now pairing open-ended. Well, I got top 2. The river's a 7. Fuck. That means he made trips, so I just check, and he turns over 8-6. Okay, so my hand holds. He called the C-bet from the reluctant folder, who ain't bluffing, on ace 9-6 with 8-6, and he called my check raise with bottom pair. And then he turned open-ended, called, and then he didn't use a great card to bluff. So I just won at a check down showdown. And had he bet the river, I was folding. I was 100% folding. But he didn't have it, so he didn't bet it. And now this is where it gets good. I have 6-5 offsuit in the big blind. It's a limper. Okay. Flop comes ace-4 too. Well, likely no one has a fucking ace, right? Like, they raise when they have aces, even old guys. So I go ahead and lead. Yeah, I mean, I could have an ace. I don't always squeeze with an ace. And both the reluctant folder and the joker, the same two villains from the hand before, call. Okay, well, there's pair and gutters and all kinds of stuff available. So the turn is the jack putting 2 clubs out there. And I decide to bet again, just in case they have hands like 4-5, pocket 3s, whatever. I bet again, they both call again. Fuck. The river is the 3 of clubs. Oh, that's the card I was dreaming of on the flop. I was dreaming that would be the turn card, a 3, giving me the nuts. It doesn't give me the nuts, it gives me the nuts straight, but the backdoor flush came in. Okay, well, I'm not going to check. I'm not going to be too scared of the flush. I'm going to bet a size that I can fold if I get raised. If one of the 2 guys that called in the turn had picked up that backdoor flush draw. I bet 4,500. The reluctant folder reluctantly calls. Okay, I got this guy beat. He maybe had an ace. Maybe, if he has a 5, he calls easy. And now the joker goes all in for over 20K. Fuck. What do? You bet to fold, but it's this guy who's very erratic. What do you do? I'll take a sip of Diet Dr. Pepper while you think about what you do. I'll run through the hand real quick. Limp pot. I have 6-5 offsuit in the big blind. I tap the table like a fucking grinder. Comes ace-4 deuce rainbow. I'm going to bet. You guys don't have a fucking ace. You didn't raise before the flop. Maybe I don't either, but I could, and I could have 2 pair, whatever. And both the reluctant folder and the joker call. Turns a jack of clubs. I still have 6 high, but I'm going to bet again and try and take it down. They both call. The river's the 3 of clubs, giving me the nut straight, but also putting 3 clubs out there. I bet 4,500. The reluctant folder calls, and the joker goes all in for over 20K. And if I call and lose, I'm going to be quote unquote crippled. I'll still have plenty of big blinds, but compared to starting stack, I'll be below. So what do you do? Take a sip. I called, and then the reluctant folder folded. And the joker had, ready for this? Jack 3 offsuit. He had Jack 3 offsuit. He limped in there with Jack 3 offsuit. That's awesome. On Ace 4 deuce, rainbow, after I bet and the reluctant folder called, he called. I get it. Gut shot, straight draw. And then he turned second pair and called, overcalled with second pair and gutter. And then when the backdoor flush comes in and any 5 makes a straight and I bet significant and some guy who's, going to have a good hand calls, he decides to jam with 2 pair. And I put in the chips. I thought about folding because that was the plan, but this guy's just too erratic. And this might be linear, like good hand call. Even if you should always be beat, and in a tough game, you're always going to be beat here, like every single time you're going to be up against a flush. Well, that's why you play the seniors events. And now I have chips, and he's, off into the Paris hotel and casino. We go on break. I have 127.5. That's why you get there early. From 50K to 127.5 in 2 hours. And yeah, I've, made some hands for sure. I've gotten a lot of bluffs through it, and I made a good call here. But, the dead money tends to die quickly in these things, and I made a point of it to not miss any fucking hands. Went and took a piss, talked to Aaron Queskin, who was punting it off. And, after we swapped, of course, and got a Diet Pepsi. I need some caffeine. 2 hours of intense for me, not for everyone else. They're just chilling. They're old, they're rich, they don't give a fuck. I'm old, I'm poor, I give a fuck, ironically. And I need some, and also it's my sensitivity. Just, I'm drained. So I'm coming back to 200, 400, and HGH man opens, the ringer calls, and I call in position with 5s. Not bad. Flop comes 6-4-3. Not bad at all. 6-4-3 rainbow. HGH man checks. The ringer bets 1,500. I call, pair and open ender, and HGH man, the preflop raiser overcalls. No idea what he has. Not one clue. Maybe he has ace king. Who knows? Ace queen. Who knows what he has? So yeah, the ringer just, bet, and he could have a lot of hands. Then 5s could be good, and 5s are also open-ended. I called, the turn's a king, and he bets 3,500, does the ringer. And I call with my 5s, 6-4-3, king, and now HGH man folds. No idea what he had. And the river's a 6, and the ringer checks. I'm happy to just check it down, turn my hand over. He has king 4. Okay, I get it. So he called the raise with king 4, an early-ish raise. He calls next act with king 4. And I overcall, and it comes 6-4-3, rainbow, and he bets his king 4, and then he turns 2 pair. And he gets counterfeit, but, the king is still good. And whatever. It's just another spot where I could have binked. He turns 2 pair. I river a straight. I'm getting a lot of chips. And then I'm in there with pocket 8s, and I flop another motherfucking set. And I'm looking at the dealer like, why are you guys giving me these things in a tournament, in the early stages of a tournament, and never in a cash game? I won a small pot. No one had anything. And then here's a hand I kind of liked. I defend ace 3 offsuit against HGH man. It comes jack 7-3. I check, he checks. Okay, bottom pair probably good. Turns a nice card for my hand. It's a deuce. It's a deuce of spades, so there's now 2 spades out there. I'm going to lead to, charge a better ace, deny equity, whatever the case may be. And he raises. And I know he's all juiced up on testosterone, but I just see it so clear. Oh, he just turned a flush draw. Call. Call with third pair. Call the raise out of position with third pair because you just turned a flush draw. The river's a 10. I check. He checks back. He had king 10 of spades. So he rivered me, but I don't care. I really liked that I read this correctly, just like I did in the cash game a couple nights before where I got raised and I called with second pair against what I knew was a flush draw, and then the guy turned the flush. This time the guy raised me on the turn after he turned the flush draw, and river's a better pair. So what? And the dealers are really something. The World Series of Poker in the tournaments. Like, some are brand new and some are the opposite. And this lady, I don't know if she was on Xanax, like a heavy dosage of Xanax. Someone raised to 1,000 and she said 2,000. It's just, they made it 1,000 with one chip. And someone said, what? And she said, I'm sorry, 100. And then we said, what? I said, oh. Someone said, it's 1,000. And maintaining focus in a tournament is tough. That's the thing about the main event. That's the hardest thing about the main event, is staying sane for 10 hours of poker, however many days, or maybe 12 hours of poker, or more when the bubble's about to burst. And it's easier when you have a dealer who's on the ball, getting hands out, running the game. And I guess it's maintaining focus is tough for them too. And when they have their head in the clouds, we go there too. The dealers are our spiritual leaders. And then I have a series of quasi-coolers that I'm on the wrong end of. Not big pots, but I'm just in there all the time, and my hand could be good against the range and it's not against the hand. And so it's starting to go the other way. And so I 3-bet huge with queen 8 suited and get a call. And then I get a favorable flop, not for my hand, but for my 3-bet range. I don't know, maybe came ace, king, deuce. And I just bet it and took it. And then the next thing that happens, I have 7-6 offsuit, and I raise in late position. And the serial killer defends his big blind. Okay? And it comes queen 9-3 with 2 diamonds. I have a diamond, so I bet. I have 7-6 on queen 9-3. I'm a continuation bettor. If nothing else in this world, I'm a continuation bettor. And he calls, and he has not been playing many hands. No. He's very calculated, of course. And I wanted him to fold, but he called. The turn's the deuce of diamonds. I pick up a flush draw. He checks, I'm going to check back. The river is another deuce. So it went queen 9-3, 2 diamonds, the deuce of diamonds on the turn. I think it's just like not telling a great story if you keep betting here, which if I had a flush, I would keep betting, but I don't have anything. And the river's a deuce. Well, this is a great run out for someone who had top pair or an overpair, especially an overpair, because you're no longer worried about 2 pair. So I know this guy's been watching me. He's probably been planning to murder me. And I've stolen a lot of pots. I'm not showing bluffs in this tournament. Absolutely not. I want all the fold equity I can get, the inherent fold equity. That's why I'm wearing a fucking baseball hat and I have a backpack on my chair. Well, you got a bunch of shit to bring with you to a tournament. That's why I have the backpack. But yeah, that's why I'm in grinder uniform. So I opened 7-6 off. I bet queen 9-3 with 2 diamonds because I had a diamond, and because I don't know, it could come 4-5 as well. It came deuce of diamonds. I checked back, deuce, and when he checked and stared at me like he stares at all his victims before he murders them, I decided, fuck this guy. I'm going to overbet egregious. That's why I got all those chips in the first 2 hours, so I can do dumb shit. It's dumb, but it's perfect because he has not been in there. And this would be a big chunk of his stack. And he doesn't want to lose his stack. He wants to stay in this thing forever. And he tanks forever and folds. And I really love this. When you aren't really repping much and you've been fucking stealing the whole time and you just steal again, you just make it so much they're not going to call. It's good and bad at the same time. It's good. In theory, it's bad. In practice, it's great. I have deuce 4 of spades in a multi-way pot. It comes 10-6-3 with a spade. We all check. Turns a 3. I lead small, and the reluctant folder calls. And the river's a deuce. I make a pair, and I check, and he bets, and I just decide he turned trips. I just fold. And now I raise on the button with the dirty diaper. Someone called. Flop comes nothing close to what I have, but nothing that they have either, because I continuation bet and take it. And then I fold pocket 6s to a raise and a 3-bet. I'm on the button. I do have chips to play with, but you can't overdo it. It was a serious raise and a serious 3-bet, so there is reverse implied odds of getting in there with 6s, and also you're not closing the action. I just decided to fold. And then I raised with pocket 9s, and I took the ringer to Value Town. His phone rang often. That thing was motherfucking loud. I don't even know how you get your phone that loud. I've never heard it rattled the table. Everyone had to fucking hold the table down and hold their chips down every time his phone rang. But I took him to Value Town. I bet on Queen 8-7. He checked. I bet. He called. Turn 5. He checked. Well, now I have a gut shot straight draw and, second pair. I bet again. He called. River's a deuce. I just decided he didn't have a queen. He checked. I bet again. Moderate. Hoping to get called. He tanked, called. My hand was good. And I got pocket aces. And I won a small pot. And then this hand is pretty cool. El Chapo. The businessman. The cartel guy. He limps. And I make it 2,000. That's 4x. The blind's 500. Big blind's 500 at this point. So I 4x with 10-4 of spades. I'm playing a lot of hands. And everyone, all the blinds and El Chapo, call. Okay, that's cool. The flop comes down 8-6-5 with a spade. Okay, I have a gutter ball to the idiot end of the straight and a backdoor flush draw. The blinds and El Chapo check. I check. The turn is an offsuit deuce. Well, guess what? Now I have a double gutter, a 7 or a 3 for a straight. The reluctant folder bets, and the way he bets, I know it's just, I have one pair, it should be good because everyone checked around the flop, so I'm going to bet it now because an undercard came. He bets, it wasn't a reluctant folder, it was how much. And he bets 1,000, which is very small. Remember, I made it 2K and got, 3 calls before the flop. So there's 8K in there, he bets 1K. This is extremely weak. It's exactly what it looks like. It's a pair that hopes to be the best hand, and El Chapo calls. And so I make it 6K. And they both fold. And I'm winning a lot of pots without hands, but when you are doing that, you are running hot in a different way. Like when your C-bets are just working, you're running hot in a different way. They're not connecting. It's kind of like, I've said this a bunch of times, and I don't know if it's dumb or not, but when you're the lag, you're the craps table. And when the table's hot, the other players do good. But when it's cold, they die. And HGH man is short and irritable. Not that irritable, but just antsy. And he's got a little short stack. And I open with ace queen, and he jams his nub stack in there. I call. He has ace 9, and I hold. I expected to lose. That's just based on recency bias. But I won. And then I open ace queen offsuit again. And the reluctant folder 3 bets. It's pretty serious, but ace queen is a good hand, and we got chips. And, I can win in other ways besides making the best hand. Comes 8-7 deuce. I have ace queen, and I check, and he checks. Okay, he's got ace king. Turns an 8. I bet 8K. Just a little subliminal message. And it's an overbet. And it's also saying I have an 8. That's why I bet 8K when there's 2 8s out there. And the reluctant folder, reluctantly folds. And then I get a walk. Those are nice. And then I have to fold pocket 4s to a limp re-raise. And that was the reluctant folder. So he limped, someone raised, I called, and then he made it 10 million. I folded. And then it's time for some adversity. There's going to be adversity in life. You play a round of golf, there's going to be adversity. There's going to be a couple of holes where the wheels come off and you got to try and get it back. You play a tournament, there's certainly going to be adversity. In a pretty bloated pot, El Chapo turned me, and then reluctant folder coolered me in the hand after that. And then I flopped another set, my third fucking set of the day. Unbelievable. And I won a small pot. And running hot in the early levels is cool. It's not going to win you the tournament, but it's going to put you in a good position to spew, calculated spew, which is what I'm doing in this thing. And it's also going to help you absorb that adversity. And, I'm playing like a fucking madman, and I flopped 3 sets. Yeah, it'd be nice to flop them on day 2 or day 3, but you take them when you can get them. And we go to the second break. I have 182,900 from 50K. So I played 4 hours and have run it up from 50 to 182.9, and I've definitely run hot, but I've played my A+ game, what I used to do when I was a grinder. It's bad for business in cash, but it's the right approach, in my opinion, in a tournament. So I went to take a piss, get another Diet Pepsi, and who rolls up on a scooter? Mike the Mouth Mattisau. And I can tell he doesn't recognize me with my hat on. I look different with a hat on. A lot of people didn't recognize. Francisco the Pro didn't recognize me. And then when he did, he said, oh, let's do a $100 last longer, first bullet only. I said, okay, pro. He said, I want you to play good, and I think this will help. He's funny. But people don't recognize me when I got my hat on. And so I said, what's up, Mouth? And then he recognized me, Mike the Mouth, on his scooter. He had a gold scooter. And I almost didn't say what's up to him, but I really like him. But I knew what was coming next. Just right into a bad beat story. Oh, man. I'm like top 5 in this tournament in chips right now. I'm spewing like a madman, and the deck is mostly cooperating, and I'm flopping sets. Will this matter? This bad beat story, this Mike the Mouth trying to bring my mood down. Am I superstitious? No. I have a mathematical mind. And I have a totally healthy relationship with variance and the butterfly effect. Of course I'm superstitious. Let's see what happens. Go back to 300, 600 with a 600 ante. And it's 4-bet in front of me. I have to fold 5s this time. And then I squeeze, queen jack, and I check fold to one of the nits that Limp called. And I 3-bet to 5K with ace-10 offsuit on the button against someone maybe like the ringer. And now how much? Put in the cold 4-bet. I got to fold that. I'm in there with ace-7 of diamonds. I whiff. God damn it, Mattisau. I knew this was going to happen. I decide to put my AirPods in and listen to some music to, get rid of the Mattisau. What? Stench? I like them, but I didn't want to hear a bad beat story when I'm locked in and things are going well. And now they're going, not in a big way, but they're going the other direction. So I put in my AirPods, I listen to some Post Malone. I think that might be some good poker music. And I 3-bet ace-5 offsuit. I 3-bet the ringer. He's opening everything. I'm 3-betting everything. Or, everything that makes sense to me. And he calls, and it comes 6-3-3 with 2 clubs. And he checks, I bet, and I take it. And at this point, this is the 5th hour of sober poker, locked in to every opponent. every hand. It's your turn. What do you got? What do you got? What do you got? What's that guy doing over there? It's not his turn, but what he's doing, like that kind of shit. And I'm really trying to focus. I'm hoping that the music will help. I haven't slept much. I had a really rough session. When I got to Vegas, cash session, the win, 10-20, lost $7K in a hand where I probably should have folded the river. And I was spiritually down after that. And this is the thing about tournaments. It's stay focused. And then I take a small beat. Someone rivers me in a, small pot for the level. And then I'm card dead and whiffing, and I have to use one of the mental health tools, cognitive behavioral therapy. Look, so you're off your high point. So what? You still got a lot of chips. It's early, and just get your mind right. Forget that you stopped Mike Mattis on his gold scooter and he mushed you. So I squeeze huge with a bad hand, just for morale. Just card dead, and now just wait for a spot where they all seem pretty weak and just make it a ton, just for my soul. And it worked. And then I raise with Jack 10. I get 2 calls. Comes ace Jack 10, 2 hearts. Okay. Continuation bet, 2 pair. You know that. And both players called, one of them being El Chapo. The turn is a 6. Ace, Jack 10, 2 hearts, 6 of spades. Now there's 2 hearts and 2 spades. I bet 6K, and El Chapo makes it 12K. Don't know what to make of this. I was the pre-flop raiser. It came Ace, Jack 10 with 2 hearts, and I bet my 2 pair. 2 people called. The turn's a 6 of spades. There are 2 flush draws available. Of course, there's other draws available as well. I bet 6K. He makes it 12. I have to call and just pray for a brick and that he checks, or even better, pray for a jack or 10. The river's the 6 of hearts. So the front door flush comes in, and now I'm counterfeit, and he bets, and I have to fold. If I had to guess, he had ace 6 offsuit. Like a cartel boss will. And I don't know, I lost, a significant pot there. And then I 3-bet the ringer again. This time I had the goods. Ace king suited. And it came, It came X deuce with one of my suit. He checked. I put in a continuation bet. He called. And the turn was a deuce, and he bombed. I was like, this guy bluffing? What's he doing? I don't know. I just folded. You know what he showed me? 7 deuce offsuit. He opened 7 deuce offsuit. He called my 3-bet. It came XX deuce. He check called, and he turned trips and just bombed it. This is the fucking seniors high roller. It's the best of the best. All right. And now I'm going to go against this guy again. He's opening 7 deuce offsuit. So I'm going to be 3-betting a lot. I have ace 6 of spades. I 3-bet. He calls. 5-4-3 with 2 spades. And he's got plenty of chips. He's been running hot. And I still have plenty of chips. 5-4-3 with 2 spades. I'm open-ended with enough flush draw. Let's hit one of these, dealer. He checks. I bet. He calls. The turn is an offsuit queen. I guess if I'm playing linear, I just check here and take my free card. I have to find out what playing linear means. But we're too deep. I want to set up stacks going in if I can make my hand. And if he check raises here, I can call and try and hit. I'll still have chips if I miss. I bet the offsuit queen, and, if he had a shorter stack or was a different player, I don't bet thinking I'm likely to get a fold. I might, but it doesn't matter. I just have so much equity. And if I get there, I want to get all the chips. I want to have a fat stack. And the river, he calls, the river's a 6. 5-4-3, 2 spades. I have ace 6 of spades, offsuit queen, bet again. And then offsuit 6, fuck it. Just check back. Hopefully he has a 5 or something. He had 4-3. So he opened 4. After opening 7 deuce offsuit, calling my 3-bet and turning trips, he opened 4-3, called my 3-bet. And not only did I flop open ender plus nut flush draw, he flopped bottom 2 and his hand held. Okay. I could have lost a much bigger pot there, but I still lost a big pot. And then I got a dicey one through. So I didn't have time to write it down, but it was just one of those, this is not working against good players. Luckily, I'm up against the serial killer and he likes folding almost as much as he likes killing. And then I missed another nut flush draw in a really big, for the level, 3-way pot where the pre-flop raiser just kept giving me the price. And, he would bet, someone would call. I just had the price. I had no fold equity. I just kept calling, and I whiffed. And went to dinner break with 178K. And met Irie Guy at Nobu. And he said, I'll treat you to Nobu. I usually don't eat until the end of the night. I'm an intermittent faster, but how are you not going to eat Nobu? And it was fucking delicious. And came back for level 7, 501K. And I squeeze. Someone opens, a bunch of people call. I make it a bunch with king jack offsuit and take it down. And then I opened a 2K with pocket 7s, some min raise, and how much. The oldest guy at the table who always says how much. He says how much. And I said 2,000. And he goes all in for 30. I don't know if I'm supposed to call here with 7s. It's 30 big blinds. I don't think so. Not against this guy. And I folded. And then the ringer. This time he just limps. And I raise with ace jack. And he calls. So I'm in position against the ringer all day long. I did get a bluff through against him. I have failed to make the best hand against him. And the flop comes king 8 deuce all clubs. And I have ace jack with the jack of clubs. And he checks. I continuation bet. He calls. Okay? The turn is an offsuit jack. He checks. I check. The river is a deuce. King 8 deuce, all clubs. I have ace jack with the jack of clubs. I turn a jack. I check it back. And the river is a deuce. And he bombs it. And I did that thing, that gambler's fallacy. The guy can't have it again. He just can't have it again. And I have a bluff catcher. It's polarized bet. I put in the call. He had 8 deuce offsuit. Oh my God, he bowed it up. And this was the most regrettable hand up until this point. I should have folded the river. But it's just one of the things like, this guy going to beat me every single time? Yes, he is. And the dealer is in slow motion. And so I'm mad at my call. So anytime, these guys are great. When they have a good hand, they'll open to like 3x, 4x, 5x, fucking 8x. When they have a bad hand or like a suspect hand, they min raise. Beautiful. I just been min raising every time I open pretty much. So when they min raise, I make it 12K. So what are the, I guess it's, what did I say it was? Yeah, so they're opening 2K. So someone calls, I make it 12K, take it down. And this is, I'm just kind of card dead, but every so often this comes up and I just make it 12K and take it down. And here we go. So the original 1 seat was Zen Master, and then we had HGH Man. They both went the way of the felt. And now we have the wealthy tilter. Clearly wealthy, tilted by everything. And someone, I think the serial killer opens to 2,500. The wealthy tilter and the ringer call. And 12K has been getting folds, so I'm going to go to 11K. Why? Because I have 2 kings. 2 red kings. The serial killer folds. That's what he does best after killing. And the wealthy tilter, who's very frustrated by everything, jams, I don't know, something over 30K. So this is over 30 bigs, but I have kings. And after the ringer folds, I snap it off and turn my hand over. It's a pretty big pot. It's, like a 70K pot, maybe? And he has queen jack of hearts. In a tournament, you don't slow roll or anything. You just turn your hand over when you're all in. That's the worst thing about a tournament. You can't slow roll. Not in these spots anyways. So here we go. If I win this one, and I have kings against queen jack, I'm gonna have fuck you money in the form of tournament chips. And he's going to be able to, go do something else because he's very frustrated. Well, the flop comes down ace, jack, jack. Oh, I flop trips. And it comes brick, brick. And this was the biggest pot I'd played. And, in tournaments, they say you got to win your flips. True in cash games, too. If you got to win your flips, you probably got to win your 83 17s in the biggest pot of the day. But I didn't. And I had to do some breathing after that one. I had been running hot in a lot of spots on this day. But this would have been a nice one to win. And now I'm whiffing, and my stack is getting smaller and smaller. I'm in there with pocket pairs. I'm not flopping sets anymore. God damn it. I'm in there with suited connectors, not flopping anything. And I just go on a full death run for a while. And then the wealthy tilter opens to a min raise, which means it's not that good of a hand. And I have king 10 of diamonds. So I don't go to 12K because I'm not trying to steal. I make it 7K in position. And he calls. And it comes queen, queen, 9 with 2 diamonds. Straight flush draw. Let's just hit one of these motherfucking draws. I've had a lot of nut flush draws, and this is, not nut flush draw, but it's a straight flush draw. Queen, queen, 9, 2 diamonds. He checks. I bet. He calls. Okay, this guy has a 9. I think he just has a 9. The turn's a king. Okay, well, now I have kings and queens with a straight flush draw, and I'm going to check back, and hopefully he bluffs the river. Well, the river is a 10. So, queen, queen, 9, 2 diamonds. I have king 10 of diamonds. I 3-bet pre-flop. A continuation bet. I check back when I hit the king. And now a 10 comes and he leads. And I can't see his cards, but I know he has jack 9. I just know he has jack 9. He flopped the bluff catcher and was in a lot of trouble in the turn. And then river to straight. And I bricked out. And not full tilt. I'm not counting this as a tilter, but in my phone I wrote, fuck all these rich guys. They're talking about how rich they are. Not in like an annoying way, just like a country club kind of way. They're showing each other their portfolios. Look how much, I'm down 300K the last 2 days. I'm down 60K since this tournament started in crypto. I'm like, motherfuckers, I don't have a portfolio. I'm down, a lot of money for 8 years. And I got the IRS, coming for me. And I'm buried on my stake. And I hate losing on stake. And it's just, part of the reason I hate it is people can accept that there are sunrunners. It's really hard to wrap your head around people being glacier walkers. All right. So I have 8 deuce offsuit, the hand that beat me. And the wealthy tilter, who's not tilting so much because he won 2 nice pots, all in with queen jack against kings, give him the pot. And then jack 9 against king 10 of diamonds on queen, queen, 9, 2 diamonds, king 10. Almost certainly jack 9, by the way. I never saw his cards, but I would bet a lot that's exactly what he had. Anyways, he min raises, the ringer calls, and these guys are smart. So I make it not 12K, I make it 11, because they're going to remember I made it 11 with kings, and they both fold. Good. And then I get pocket queens. I make it 11K again, just to kind of like, okay, the new number's 11. after, someone min raises. And someone calls. And it comes 10-9-4. I'm only heads up against the ringer. I'm in position. And I bet 11K again. And he calls. The turn is a king. He checks. I check back. It's the king of hearts. They're 2 hearts now. And the river's the deuce of hearts. So backdoor flush came in. There's an overcard to my pair. He checks. And I decide I have to go for value. I bet 18K. That's the most I think I can get called by a weak hand. And he tanks for a while and pays. And my queens are good. And then I got boat under boat. Not like in a gross way. Like it came king, king, deuce, king. And I had 5s and someone had 7s. But the serial killer had 7s. But then the first, several hours into this thing, I finally got caught with air, just total air, because you got to show your cards. I had 10-9 of clubs, which is a good starting hand, but it was like king, 6, 3, deuce, all red. And someone called. King, 6, 3, deuce, maybe 4, all red. And I bet the river. And I got called and I had to show it. And then at this point, the jig is up. I think they say okay, you're dressed like a grinder, but you're clearly fucking going for it every hand. And then I got turned in a bloater. And then I got turned again by a dominated ace. I think I had ace 10, they had ace 7, came ace high, turned 7. And, it's one of those little downswings in the middle of a level. And I wrote, need to use or repair my image. Because now I have an unlucky image and a spewy image. And I get in there. I don't 3-bet. I just call with 10-8 of clubs. And I flop middle pair and I fold the flop. I just knew I was toast. Someone bet way too much. And then in limp pots, I get max value with pretty weak hands using that image. The laggy image that I now have. I didn't have it for a while because I look like a grinder. And then I'm in another limper and I just have absolutely nothing, but I really want the pot. And we just checks to the river. And so I just 3x pot the river. And the reluctant folder busted. So they put another guy in, a really nice guy from Indiana. We'll call him the Indiana folder. He folded quite a bit too. He reluctantly folded. I just bet 3 times the pot, and that's always value. For me, it's 100% bluff. And people are probably saying, why do you say that? People that you play with are listening. I don't know. Well, I guess I won't do it against them. But in general, why would you balance this shit? They fold every fucking time, even if they don't want to. I have 169.7 on the last break. And, they had me color up. I have all the small chips because I just win so many little pots. And they say, can you give me your count? 169.7. I come back from break. I have 168. What the fuck? So they race off the 200, but I should have 1,500 more. And I just tell the floor. The dealer's like, well, I got to deal the hand. I'm like, well, call the floor too. And you had me count it. I told you, look at it now. And she's like, no, I got to deal the hand. I was no, call the floor too. And the wealthy tilter's like, no, we got to deal the hands. And the floor came over and I said, you guys owe me 1,500. He's like, okay, he just gets 1,500 and brings it over. All right. I thought maybe I was going to be screwed out of that 1,500, but I wasn't. I'm in there with 10-4 suited, put out the delayed C-bet. You raise and someone calls in position and you flop nothing, you check, they check. Okay, you don't have it. Now I get to bet on the turn, take it. And I raise with Jack-9 suited and I have to fold to a 3-bet. You know how much this grates on me? Cash games, you don't have to fold Jack-9 suited 3-bet. Tournaments, you do because the person who 3-bets you doesn't have chips. I raise with ace-jack, get 4 callers. It comes Jack-6 deuce. That's a hell of a flop right there. 2 spades, I bet, and I get 2 calls. And the turn's the king of spades. Flush gets, and the ringer just leads into me heavy. I just got to fold. And I raise pocket 8s. And someone I think is probably like an older tournament player, like a good one, which means super nitty. He stuffs it for a short stack. And I think it's, I don't know, 10 big blinds, maybe 15 big blinds or something. And I call with eights, and we were racing, and I won. And that's nice. It's nice to win a race. It's nice to know you can. I raised queen 3 suited and to 3K, so the big blind's 1,500 at this point. And the Indiana folder makes it 6K. That's scary as hell, but it's 3K more plus, the blinds and the ante. So I'm going to call and just hope for a miracle with queen 3 suited. Flop comes king 7-6, one of my suit. I check. He checks behind. That's also pretty fucking scary. The turn's a queen. I check. He reaches for chips. I fold. Almost certainly pocket kings. And this guy sits down. The first, young-looking guy that looks like a classic tournament pro sits down. He has 300K in chips. And that means either he's been on an insane heater or he's aggro or both. And that's what I was trying to do. And I think our dealer was 100 years old. So slow, but no one cared. And he's like, Floor, I need some water. And it was cool. You could tell this guy wasn't, he's going to have to be there another hour or two. And the, young guy for the seniors high roller says, hey, you want a protein bar? There's no sugar in it. Gets out of his backpack one of his, healthy snacks, opens his water for him. And we're all just sitting there watching the dealer, the Floor got the dealer a little water bottle. Drink of water and eat this protein bar. And he's not dealing any cards. And everyone's just supporting this dealer, hey man, we appreciate you. This is awesome. And I got to say, this is the coolest field I've ever played in. It was tilting me, them talking about their money, but they weren't doing it they assume I have money too. I mean, it's whatever. They weren't doing it in a condescending way at all. And it was just the nicest group of poker players ever assembled. And it was really cool to see this. I'm all supporting this really old guy. Maybe because we all know that's coming for us sooner than later. I raise, fold, pocket eights. Yeah, someone jammed and someone rejammed. Thought it was a fold. Called 5 ways on the button with 9-7 offsuit. Flop nothing. Doesn't matter. I'm putting myself in position to bink, to get a lucky flop and win a huge one. And that's why I got there for hand one. That's why I've been spewing so hard. People say, oh, you don't need to, show up for the first 3 levels. Just play tight. No. Do the opposite. Show up and play crazy. Try and manufacture every single pot you can. And that pays for these little, I'm calling a raise with 9-7 offsuit on the button 5 ways. Because what if it comes good for 9-7 offsuit and someone has an overpair? But I 3-bet king queen offsuit and had to fold to a cold 4-bet from one of the nits behind me. And I say nits just that they were tight. They were nice guys. And ace-10 and flop an ace but lose when the guy makes a flush on the river. I just check it back and he shows the flush. And now we'll do another what would you do in this hand. It's going the other way for me. My big stack is becoming more of an average stack. I raise the king-queen offsuit. I get 2 calls. The new El Chapo felt it. And so now we have the tilter. He's not tilting, but he tilts everyone with the shit he does. He calls my raise, and then the Good Samaritan, the young-looking senior who has all the chips, calls from the big blind. I have king-queen. It comes queen 8-4 with 2 clubs. They check. I bet. The tilter calls, and now the Good Samaritan check raises. Queen 8-4, 2 clubs. And I know another thing Tom Middleton does. He loves to check raise with middle pair. And it just really fucking feels like that. I call, and the tilter folds, so we're heads up. The turn's a brick, like a red deuce. Queen 8-4, 2 clubs. I raised pre-flop with king-queen. I bet the flop. First guy called. The small blind called, the big blind check raised, I called, and now the turn is a deuce, a red deuce, and this guy bets 25K. And he's setting up stacks going on the river. I'll have 100K left, I think, if I call this. And in general, in this tournament, if you're playing linear, I think you fold here. But I don't know what linear means. And I think this guy, I just read him to be, a player capable of doing some GTO shit. And I decide I'm going to call and I'm going to reevaluate the river. If he shoves, I'm going to make a decision. So this could be it. And what would you do? You raise with king, queen, comes queen, 8-4, 2 clubs, small blind and big blind called you. You bet, the small blind, the tilter calls, not worried about him. And now the guy with all the chips, the good Samaritan, who's certainly a tournament pro, check raises. You call, the other guy folds, turns a brick, and now he bets 25K, which will leave you with about pot behind, 100K. Do you call? Or do you fold and just, protect your stack? I called. The river was a brick, and he gave up. He checked. And I don't know what I was going to do. I just decided, if he goes all in on the river, I'm going to try and soul read him. I don't care. He looks at people. I'm staring at this motherfucker. But he gave up. And then someone, maybe the ringer, who always raises. And I know there's an all-in coming from the guy that's in How Much's seat. He was wearing Florida Panthers gear. He looked like Norman Chad. I just know because the tilter tilted him by bluffing him and showing him. And I just have a feeling he's going to be sending it in this hand. So I just call with 8s. And then he sends it in. And it folds back around to me and I call. And this was 44K. Which is what? How many big blinds is that? It's, 20 big blinds. So I call with 8s. Thought he was due to go all in, and he had jacks. Oh, fuck. And he held. Okay. Now, I raise with 7s. It gets around to the wealthy tilter, who 3-bets fairly large, out of position. I decide to call, and he either has a big pair or ace-king. That's it. And I'll know on the flop. If he has ace-king, he'll check, unless he hits an ace or king. If it's big pair, he'll bet, and maybe I'll flop a set. It comes 10-deuce-3, he bets, I fold. Okay, it's about the end of day one. It's going poorly. And I have to, feel better. I had a big stack. It's now closer to an average stack. And so I squeeze twice, just pick up, pots with shitty hands. And then I raise with ace-4 diamonds. And the tilter 3-bets to 12K. So I open to 4, he goes to 12. And I just thought he was light, and he's just like a goofball. And in a cash game, I would jam. And if I had a lot of chips, I would jam. But with my stack, I decided to just call. And it comes 10-7-6 with a diamond. And I check. And he bets 8. So he bets, less than a third of the pot. And I call with ace-4, diamonds one time. And it turns to 6. 10-7-6, the diamond turns 6. I check, and now he bets 12, and now I fold. And he shows an 8. This motherfucker. I know he had 8-6. He 3-bet me with 8-6, and he turned trips. And I had ace high. I had a better hand pre-flop. But this guy, when he was bluffing, would show both cards. And when he's not, he's showing one. It was tilting. And it's the last hand of the night. And the Florida Panthers guy opens, and I call with ace-7 of diamonds from the big blind. And, I call, Okay, I have this. Let me start over. I open ace-7 of diamonds. Sound guy, you messed up these notes even though you're sober now. I open ace-7 of diamonds, and the guy I just doubled up makes it 11.5. So I made it 4, he made it 11.5. Call out of position with ace-7 of diamonds. The flop comes king, jack, 10, 2 diamonds. Okay, here we go again. Combo draw, once more, nut flush draw plus something else. Again, gut shot, straight draw in this case. I check, he bets, I call. The turn is an offsuit 7, pair, nut flush draw plus straight draw. I check, he checks back. The river's a 10, I just check, he has ace king. So that's it for day 1. I survive, I bag 128.5, and it feels worse than it should. And that's just where I'm at in life, so desperate. Overall, I probably ran good on this day, but I ran bad in some big spots. And I gave it my all. I played 10 hours of sober poker, fucking locked in. And I ran my hottest when, the early levels, and then my worst in the late levels. And if I had to guess, my VPIP was 75, 80%. And my preflop raise was probably like half that. I was putting up Luda numbers. And that's me. You probably think I play a lot of hands and raise a lot in general, but when I'm sober, it goes way up because I just see more and people fold me more. And went to the bar to decompress with a good group and got a buzz quickly. And then got some carne asada burrito from Roberto's on the way home. And I slept a few hours, and as I was, laying down to go to sleep, I was thinking I got to get my head right for day 2.